Hello! Welcome to Noteworthy Reading, a place where we talk about books. Books that have changed the hearts of men. Books that have upended cradles of civilization. Pretty good books, you know. Don't have to overdo it. Over the holidays, I picked up a book called The Immortal Nicholas by Beck, written in 2015. It has a little tear up here. That's my fault. I did that. Pulled the sticker off and it tore the cover, and I was sad. Because it's a beautiful cover, isn't it? It's got this kind old shepherd man holding a lamb, and the rosy gold glossy font, and the hand-drawn feel. You know, it's got like a parchment kind of old paper that it looks like it's on. Very, very beautiful book. I actually really like the cover. But when you look at the cover, if you're going to judge a book by its cover, this book kind of looks like a kind old shepherd who might be Santa. You know, something like that. But don't be deceived. It actually caught me off guard for probably 3/4 of the way through. And it read more like, this is probably going to surprise you, it read almost more like the Gladiator story. Like, part of it reminded me of, Russell Crowe on a journey from losing his family to getting caught up in sort of a caravan where he's sort of put in lots of circumstances and has to survive. Definitely it's not as brutal as that, for sure. Not as graphic as that, for those of you who have seen The Gladiator. But some of it reminded me of kind of how strife and turmoil shapes a character into a very refined, mature, giving person who's willing to give it all. So I don't know if that. Hopefully that doesn't give away too much. But if you've ever wondered, hey, what is Father Christmas? How did that person ever come to be? What are all the building blocks that go into building that person? How does that person become the legend of Saint Nicholas? This book is really satisfying. It kind of, in a historical fiction sort of way, puts the pieces of the puzzle together and ties it into the birth and death and resurrection of Christ, and envisions how a saint would see that, react to it, and then carry that on throughout the ages. So definitely not your typical Santa Claus story where there's, elves waving at narwhals and lots of toys being made begrudgingly by people in the North Pole. It's nothing like that. It kind of sidesteps a lot of the silly fiction behind Santa Claus and kind of enters into how would this ever actually be a real person. So in that way, very satisfying. So the book starts out with a father, who is born in BC Judea, and he's a skilled merchant, and his job is risky. He procures a substance that was back then very precious, particularly to one of the wise. It's actually kind of manifests itself in the story of the wise men. The wise men prize frankincense. It was both medicinal. It was something that alleviated pain, and so they gave it to the person of Christ. Well, the main character Agios, his job is to find and sell frankincense, and if you read the book, you'll understand how kind of perilous that job was, and then how he kind of jumps on board of a caravan with these wise men, and the story sort of takes off from there. It's a little hard, as you're reading, you're like, so how is this ever going to tie into Santa Claus? Well, Agios witnesses the mission of Christ. He actually kind of is a bodyguard for Joseph and Mary, and he loses hope when he sees Christ crucified. He loses several sons, and he's heartbroken by that as a father. So he, after he loses touch and loses hope, and decides that he doesn't really know why what his life is all about, he actually kind of goes through this sort of wilderness survival phase where he's kind of this character that's like dog sledding through the Arctic and hunting his food. It almost turns into sort of like a survival novel, but eventually it ties into his life ties into the real Saint Nicholas, who he was around in maybe 325 BC and might have been the actual Saint Nick, okay, the Romanian Saint Nicholas, who might have been at the Council of Nicaea in 325 BC, right? He meets Saint Nicholas, and he learns from him. He sees how beautiful a picture it is when the real Saint Nick, if you know anything about him, he gave gold to women who didn't have dowries so they could be married. Okay? If the real Saint Nick, and this is documented, this is historical, if he had not given that dowry to those girls, they would have been sold into slavery, the worst kind of slavery. So we see this character, the main character in the story, be mentored and learn from the actual Saint Nick, and then he carries out and carries on as a person who is the legend of the holiday. And the themes of being a father, what the joy, the pain, the loss, sometimes the agony of what it can be like to be a father, all of those are portrayed. The idea of gift giving at Christmas time, where does that even come from? When you look at the life of Christ and you look at how, his birth, and that was a divine gift to humanity, as a way that if they would have faith, if they would believe in his life and his mission as the Son of God, they would be saved. That is the ultimate gift. When we give gifts to kids or to our friends or to our family during the holidays, and they unwrap them and they're overjoyed or not, the kids are in tears because it was the wrong gift. That whole picture of gift giving precious things to the ones we love, that stems from this original story where we have Christ who's given. And then we have this picture of Saint Nicholas, who gives precious gifts as a picture of what Christ ultimately sacrificed through his life. And then we have that carried on by this main character. Very beautiful story. Hopefully I haven't given away too much. I really, really enjoyed it. I want to just share a few quotes from it that I thought were very meaningful to me and kind of got me into the holiday spirit. This quote comes from page 89 of my edition. It says, "There will be much pain in this life, as there is in the life of every great man. And he will take upon himself the pain of the world. Frankincense cannot ease that, but perhaps it may hearten him to know that there is an end to every pain, and that those who care may offer what relief they may." I thought that was a beautiful picture. Somebody who's giving a precious gift to alleviate pain for the person who is the real gift. I just thought that was just really wonderful. It kind of speaks volumes to the holiday spirit. One last quote. I have a few more, but I just don't want to do too much because you need to read the book. Last quote comes from page 325 of my copy. "Though he walked through darkness, his heart was filled with light, for he knew that his work was only just beginning. The entirety of his life to this point had merely been to prepare him for what he was to do next. Bring hope to the hopeless and joy to the joyless. He would serve mankind by reminding them every year that a king had been born who had died for their sins." Really, really wonderful story. When you follow this character through all of the strife that he goes through, and you see him through all of the phases of his learning and all that is built into him, it is really beautiful. Forget all the Canaan elves and the Grinch on Mount Crumpet. All those are fun. But if you really want to read a story that really speaks to the heart of Christmas and the heart of who Saint Nick actually was as he lived and why we still kind of have this legendary figure of him, then definitely read The Immortal St. Nicholas by Glenn Beck. Here, I'm reaching for it on my shelf. There we go. Oh, that's the back of it. This is the one you want to see. And sorry, this tear is not part of the original cover. I tore the sticker off of it. I got this on discount. And when I tore the sticker off, it ripped the cover. So, you know, don't fault the printing press for that. It's my fault. Great book. You should read it. We hope that you enjoyed this episode. The Immortal St. Nicholas is a sweet read. You should definitely read it. Join us again for another book review. We're going to try to do 3 a month. And we'll do 2 that are more serious books, and then 1 we'll do a Fantasy Friday. Or a Fiction Friday, whichever category it falls into. And yeah, we hope to see you again. Thanks for joining us. Bye.